So who has this? Harrison, you're going to have to move this is actually
Sure.
Not the one I was using, but hopefully it will be fairly up to date.
Ooh, do we want to start here?
No.
No? Okay. All right. Hey, everyone. My name is Matt Jones. I live in Charleston, South Carolina. My wife and I just moved here from Seattle a few months ago, so we're still getting used to the South down here, and I'll be at the Goat Boater race this weekend, actually, so I'm excited to start meeting some people from the area. So what we're looking at here, one of our big dreams and undertakings in this whole USA Sup thing is creating this regional and then therefore national ranking system. Fiona and I spent a bunch of time trying to poke holes in this and come up with a system that we thought was inclusive, fair, easy to use, would allow all of our race directors for us to be able to take you guys where you're at this year. So we don't want anybody to change anything about what you're doing. Do your event, do your race exactly however you want to do it. And then this is just what we're doing on the back end to try to create some sort of ranking system. We anticipate there being things that we're going to love and things that we're not going to love so much, but this is what we're going with for this year. So okay, here we go. Athletes must participate in at least 3 races within a season. If an athlete participates in more than 5 races, only their top 5 finishes count towards your overall ranking. So we want to encourage people to paddle as many events and races as they can. Sweet. You can compete in races anywhere throughout the country and are not restricted to your region, which we'll go back to the regional map later and explain where we landed on all that. But any racer can count it towards their regional score, but you can only choose 2 races from outside your home region, right? So we want to encourage people counting races like Carolina Cup or the Gorge or Chattajack or whatever it might be. But it starts to become a little unfair if some people have access and money to be able to travel at all these bigger events, and we don't want to be exclusionary in any way. So that's where we're at with that. Fiona, do you want to take over on the next one?
Sure. It's well, first off, hi everybody. It's been really fun being able to work together with Matt on this and hopefully bring you guys in on board with this. And one of the biggest things that I'm excited to see is that the community aspect coming together through every level of the sport. I've been fortunate to travel all over the world, but I find that when I come to my local home races, it's just such a fun, incredible community that comes together. So we really want to pull that together across the entire nation. So that's what we're working on. So Harrison, do you mind going to the next slide? Cool. Okay, sweet. All right, so we're trying to figure out how to score everybody in a fair way that includes as many different events as possible. So as we are all familiar with scoring, it's not always simple. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult depending on the number of participants, how high a level is in a certain place versus another, and so on and so forth. So there isn't one super clear end-all be-all scoring system answer, but this is what we have come up with to kind of, thread the midline and figure out the most fair system to begin with. So every event you go into, you get a score. So if you, like Matt said, go to the big races, Carolina, Gorge, Chattajack, you get some race results. If you go to your local event that happens 20 minutes down the road from your house, you get a score as well for that. So how the score works are pretty simple. The total number of participants, say you have 25 people in the race, they get 25 points. Every single person down from that gets the total number of participants minus 1 place. So that's how we figured out a way to balance it out, whether you have a lot of people in your race or a few different people in your race, because at the end of the season, everything is going to kind of balance itself out there. Matt, you want to go through the tie breaks so people have an idea on that?
Yeah, sure. So real quick, just to add on to that, something we heard from our first meeting with race directors was kind of the inequality that the scoring system would leave for people who still can access some of those larger races or live in a region where have bigger turnouts, right? Maybe say Southern California versus a Kansas region. Your average race is going to be pretty disproportionate. So what we've added in is after you add up your top 5 scores throughout your season, whatever those add up to be, you divide that number by the total number of points available to you at those top 5 races, right? So let's say, just for the sake of numbers, that somebody in Seattle goes to a race and all 5 of their races are worth 25 points, right? By the end, their total available points would have been 125 versus somebody who went to 5 races with 100 people at each race. Their total available points would have been 500. So your overall ranking score ends up looking a little bit like a batting average. It's a decimal place. It sounds very confusing, but the point is that we've just evened it out a little bit so that people who can attend races with more participants don't have quite so much of an advantage. You still do a little bit, and we want that to encourage people traveling to these bigger events, but it's not nearly as much, if that makes sense. Yeah, so the tie break, the way that works out is you just run your top 5 numbers in best to worst order, and basically and you line those up with somebody else who has a tie, and whoever essentially loses first as you go down the line loses the tie break. I can write that out and I'll add that in when you guys have access to this document, like a more specific layout there. But real quickly, if somebody has like a first, second, third, fourth, and fifth place, and then somebody else has a first, second, third, fourth, and fourth place, this person's going to win just because they had a better result earlier on in their top 5 scores, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
All right. So
Harrison, you want to... Oh, sorry, Fiona, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to clarify as well before you get too caught up in numbers or the whole system behind this. The points that you're getting from your region are going towards a regional title. This is not for the overall national event. These are all separate. So we want to clarify the difference between going to nationals, which we hope to have down the line, where you're competing at nationals, and when you're competing locally, supporting your local events. So in terms of having your local events, we have created this system so you can figure out your ranking and how, you rank, how close are you to your buddy on the start line when you go to your race on the weekend. The point being to have the ranking system is to give incentive, but also opportunity to people regionally to get to nationals. So we've made it so that the first place finisher in every one of their regional classes gets a free entry to the national event. And the thing that I'm super excited about is we've made the top 2 junior finishers at the end of their regional season get free entry to nationals. We know it's expensive for parents and for kids, and we want to get as many more kids into stand-up paddling as we can. So we just dropped that and included 2 more spots for nationals there.
Harrison, do you have access to pull that sucker back up again, or are we stuck?
I do.
Okay.
Ryan was going to take over because he evidently had the more recent version than me.
Right,
but
or I can open the one that said draft on it that Ryan made. Where's Ryan? Is he opening it?
One quick thing to add just while we were talking about the national event is, oh, sorry, cat alert. We think we maybe Ryan can speak more to this, we're working towards a national event already. We're hoping that it'll be a thing sooner rather than later. And anybody who is a member of USA SUP can come to the event, just like the ICF World Championships. You don't need to qualify or anything to be able to participate at this event. We want everybody to be able to come to it. Winning your region just means you don't have to pay registration for the race, but we're taking everybody for the psych that they have for the sport. And if you want to come, you can come.
Yes. Sorry, Kristen or Harrison, when you open the back, I cannot get it open on this computer.
Okay.
all right, what slide do we want up?
I'll do it up, but it's a different.
Okay.
I'm gonna open the one that has
there.
Yes, we are hoping to have a first national event in 2023. We'll fine tune those details and hopefully get those clarified by at least to some level by Carolina Cup.
Oh, we're not going to give away any more than that. It won't happen in 2022, but we are very close to 2023, which we're excited. We think that's a really cool part of phase 2, that we will have a national event. Is this the one? Let's see. This one looks a little different. You already talked about, those were the examples. You did put them in here already, Matt. Right? These scoring examples.
Say that again, Kristen, sorry.
Did you want to share these scoring examples? I think.
Oh yeah, sure. We can go through these real quick. Actually, Jeff Matthews, who may be on here, helped me come up with these. So credit where credit is due. Fellow nerds helping fellow nerds out. But so this is just an illustration of what it would look like for, on the left, somebody who lives in a region where you have more people at your average race versus somebody on the right who lives in a little bit more, a region where they're excited for every one paddler to come out. Not that we're always not excited, but you can see that even though their participation rates are super different, their overall percentage score at the end is quite close, actually. And it's just weighted. The number should basically be exactly the same. So that's the exact weight that you would have just because the region is larger on the left, if that makes sense. Same percentages finish in both examples there.
Cool.
Yep.
And did we go over this already?
Yeah, this is more like super nitty gritty explanation of the same thing already. And this is what Fiona mentioned before. This is who qualifies to be able to go to the event or who gets free registration. We've put together some rough race suggested guidelines. We know every region is a little bit different. We know every race director is a little different. We know conditions are different everywhere where you're at. Again, we're taking everybody wherever you are this year. Please run your event, throw a good event, have people be fun, but also let's try to be safe and be as inclusive as we can through the whole process. But so what we have so far, in order for it to count and for you to get points, a race must have at least 10 racers. No getting first place for a race with 3 people in it. Too easy. Follow whatever your Coast Guard safety says near you. If that means wear a leash, wear a leash. Hopefully everybody's wearing a PFD, but please wear a PFD. And if you do have youth entries into your event, please try to separate them into a separate category. We want them to feel some level of success and acceptance into the event rather than being like, oh, congratulations, 13-year-old, you finished 42nd out of 120 guys. Congratulations, right? Like that's not going to get them to come back in the same way as really celebrating them that they're there. So we'd like to see a separate youth category whenever you guys can make it happen. Fiona, are you still here? Did you jump already?
Yep, I have just a couple of minutes. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to leave you guys early. But I will just take it from here for the last little bit. In terms of a points race, you know, we understand that there's a lot of different disciplines out there, and we want all of those disciplines because not only are they fun, but it makes the sport super diverse. But in terms of regional rankings, it'd be really difficult if you had 3 races happening, and a lot of times they start at similar times or 5 minutes apart, and it's hard to distinguish, okay, you know, which event would be the points race. So what we're saying, to keep everything simple, it's up to the race director. You decide if you have a 10K and a 5K at your event. You decide if the points are on the 10K or the 5K. And probably, as we've all experienced, that you have, you know, your one race that a lot more experienced racers or people who want to push it in racing sign up for. And so we would suggest that making that race the points race, but you can choose whichever race you want. We just can't pull, you know, people's results from a 3K and a 10K and a 15K all from the same event within one weekend. That makes sense.
It's a lot of information for us to pull, and it's hard to figure out really, again, with the ranking system being something we're anticipating people being psyched about. Who's faster if you get 4th in the 10K or 2nd in the 5K, right? It's hard to figure out what that really means. So again, like Fiona said, we don't care what you guys do as race directors, just pick one, whichever one you think is going to be the better fit. And that's great.
Cool.
And we hope as USA, oh, go ahead, Fiona.
No. I was just going to say, unfortunately, I'm really sorry I have to jump, but you guys are all in very good hands. with the board and president and everybody. So thank you all. And I really hope to see you out in the water soon. And yeah, we'll catch you later. Thank you.
Thanks, Fiona. I just wanted to add that for 2020, we are keeping it simple in a lot of ways. And Matt, do you want to kind of share what the ranking system looks like for this year? You just mentioned already the one race per event, but the other two things.
Oh, sure. For what we've got here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So 14 foot and under. If you think that racing the 12.6 is faster for you in whatever conditions you're in, do it. Where, like I said, simplicity is the name of the game for us this year. 14 foot and under is what we're doing. Juniors, again, we want to have that junior category. If you have anybody who fits this description, 18 and under. If you have a more elite-minded junior and they want to age up for the year, that's a decision that they can make, but it also is good for the year. If they're 16 and they decide to age up that year, and the next year they really regret their decision when they're 17, they can register as a junior the following year. But whatever you pick at the beginning of that season is what they register for. Open 19 to 49, Masters 50 to 69. And we added the Legends group after talking with our, what they called, not my words, the old guy focus group was, they really wanted to have this Legend category, and we want to support. It's a pretty unique sport in the way that we have a pretty large demographic that fits that. So under this line is, again, this is a phase 2 dream of ours, is to start to be able to give you guys parameters around different disciplines of racing that you can hold and what qualifies as certain things. This is, again, our first go at this. This is not happening this season. Run your races the way you always run them, but this is where our heads are at, and we would love to be able to have ongoing conversations with all of you guys about this stuff. But a distance race would be 5K or over, technical race 5K or less, minimum of 4 turns, and however many you have on the right, you've got to have that number plus or minus 1 on the left, and a sprint would be 500 meters or less. And then they're at the bottom, that's just like we're not scoring for any different discipline. So even though there might be somebody who crushes their local sprint race series, and that's starting to exist in some places of the country where other races only do 10, 15 Ks, it's just paddling for this year. Wherever you land based on what events you do is where you land this year.
Awesome. Hey, I just want to mention along these lines that Grant on our committee has been working really hard, and Matt and I got to see this morning the matrix, all the programming that he's doing behind this. And one of the things that's coming up, Grant, I don't know if you want to share about how we're going to ask race directors to enter races.
I can do. We mentioned at the first meeting we'd like to have race directors be presented with a simple form that they could help us to record events. So at the moment, we ran into some challenges with that, integrating a number of disparate systems, such as our CRM, Paddle Guru, Race Hub, Web Scorer. But we overcame a lot of those problems yesterday. In fact, last night, working with some of these folks, and we will be able to get that form available soon. And what that'll do is allow you to give us some information about your events. Once we have that, we go off out into the internet, grab some time zone information, map it into our regions, and then create the event in our event calendar on the website so that everyone's able to then see that event. We're not trying to replace the registration platforms. Folks will still go to Paddle Guru, Web Scorer, Race Hub to do the registration. That's not our purpose. We simply need all this information to be able to do the rankings that Matt and Fiona have just talked about. So once we're able to gather that information, we can have the program do that in the background and automatically generate all that information, the points, the rankings, and things like that. As I say, we ran into some challenges. Those are pretty much solved now. And I'm sure that as soon as we've got that ready here in a little bit, Kristen will send out another email to you all with a link to where you can enter that data for us. As you're probably aware, some of the huge challenges around ranking and that are the standardization of race distances, as Matt's just talked about. But additionally, it's been able to map the athletes into a region as well. So we need a lot of help there to be able to do that part of it. We can map the race into the regions and we can rank athletes in the race, but an athlete may be racing outside of their home region, and that makes it more challenging. So as we go forward, that's the next step for us, is to encourage people to create a membership profile within our system so that we can match them to their local and their remote races, because as Matt mentioned, you're allowed to include some out of home region races in your end of year results. So that's where we are. In many respects, bringing all these disparate systems together is just like trying to coordinate and bring some cohesion to the sport itself. There are a lot of challenges in it, and it is a work in progress, but we're getting closer by the day. So.
Great, thank you so much. Regions, this is one we have toyed with for quite a long time, but we finally have our 7 regions, 2 letters. I know some of them won't look familiar. I know Harrison said the Midwest has probably never been called the North Central, but we did it very geographically. Sorry, other to admit. So wanted to let you know that it's color coded on the website in terms of events and where your events are. But to Grant's point, we focused on the events and the race directors, and now we need to start finding the racers and where they are and inputting those events. So one of the things that we have that I wanted to stop for a minute and make sure we introduce our regional reps. We need your help. We have 5 of them so far, and I think quite a few of you are on here. Looks like a couple of you are hiding. I don't know if you'd like to introduce yourselves, but we are looking for help within regions to work with you guys, the race directors, help us identify races that we can't find in the usual places, help us with racers and where they are, especially if they're travelers and where their region is. As people join, we do have a membership, and in the membership, we will know how old they are and we will know where they live so that we can mail them their sticker and everything. But for now, in trying to include every racer in the United States, we have some information and have our work cut out for us. So let's see, we've got Jeff Matthews on here. We have Mary. Want to say where you are?
Hi, I'm Mary. I'm from Maryland, in Annapolis. Yep.
Great. Thank you for volunteering to be a regional rep. Jeff?
Jeff, I'm in North Carolina, Greensboro, hopefully to be Racewell Beach soon.
You look like you're working out again. We must hit these meetings at your workout hour. I love it. And Lawrence, you're one of our regional reps. Thank you for volunteering. New since the last meeting.
Yes, I'm the Northeast New England rep for a large area. And I'll talk with Harrison, but I was actually in Pittsburgh, which fits in a long ways from where I am in New York, but it's in our region. And that would be a beautiful national event area with the 3 rivers coming right down one of the rivers under all those bridges past downtown and all, but that's for another day.
Thank you. And who else? Oh, Linda is our newest regional rep as of what, 2 days ago?
Hi, I'm Linda. I live in Austin, Texas. I am the South Central rep. Is that right, Kristen?
Yes, and we hope to have multiple reps so that you can help as a group, especially those of you who, I mean, there are a lot of states in each region for sure.
Yeah.
But for
and
now,
so what region is Mary?
Mid-Atlantic, right, Mary?
Yes, sorry, I was on mute. Yes, Mid-Atlantic.
And then Jeff. Okay.
And yeah.
And he's farther south in Mid-Atlantic.
And then we have Ted Schatz over in the Pacific Northwest. He's in Portland.
Okay, and what region is that one called? Northwest?
Yes.
Who is that again?
Ted Schatz.
Ted, yeah. And we'll get you guys together as a group and have some kind of a group so Matt is the leader of that, and I'll be working with you guys too.
Okay.
But anybody
and which
here,
regions? I'm sorry. Which
ahead.
regions are we trying to fill?
Really, all of them but the Mid-Atlantic, I believe, at this point have one or none. The Mid-Atlantic, with between Jeff and Mary, has two. I don't think it could hurt to have a third. And really, like anybody that, well, really any of you think that would be a good fit for this, somebody who's passionate, knows a lot of people, enjoys going to races, and doesn't hate talking to other people, would be great. Please send their information to any of us or put them in contact with us somehow. We're willing to accept any warm, excited bodies.
Yeah, that's where I was going with my question. Yeah.
For the most part, we had been trying to avoid you guys, the race directors, because you're so busy with your racers. But if you're super enthusiastic and want to also be a rep, that's fine. Amanda, did you want to say something?
Yeah, but say, hey, I'm here. I would love to be a rep if that's, something that could happen, because I'm not only a director, I'm an instructor, I'm an enthusiast of SUP. I mean, I'm here. This is my career, guys. So I'm here to help promote.
Woohoo!
Great. We are signed in blood now, so you're in.
I'm in. Oh, great. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
And then again, a lot of you play a lot of roles. And I know, like Victoria, you are down in Florida, but you're also a coach and nutrition and surfing and camps, and you do so much down there. But we are definitely, Florida is one of those really interesting places to us, because there is, great stuff happening, probably the most of any state in the US, but also a little bit of not everybody always fully loves everybody and goes to everything.
Yeah. I mean, I'm willing to find out more to help out too, as I told you. So
yeah, thank you.
Just let me know.
Yeah, sorry I haven't gotten back to you on that. But we're still looking, and again, we're trying not to hit up you. People are so busy with so many pieces of it. We'd love to expand our group of volunteers.
That would be good.
Yeah. All right, that's kind of
and Matt, just to in the chat, Jace has also volunteered.
Awesome. To you? Oh, there we go.
Hey guys.
And what state? You're also in the Northeast, but are you in a different state than Lawrence?
So I'm in Massachusetts on Cape Cod, and also working in the Boston area for SUP races. Trying to develop it up on the Cape has been a struggle, and so I'm excited to kind of maybe just take SUP USA and just take what you're doing and put that right in here on the Cape.
Awesome. Great. Well, we have 2 more regional reps. That's fantastic. Thank you all. So probably questions, but want to throw out a few things that we're looking at. So we'd love you to engage with us in other ways too. If you use social media, please find us. We haven't really launched it, but we are about to start. It's going to be happening this month leading up to Carolina Cup. We'd love you to join. We know we're asking a lot of you because there's a lot of work that you already do, but there is, again, we are just volunteering and putting in our own money for now, and we do need to launch membership. We'd like to do membership first before we take sponsorship, although we're planning that and working on that in the background. So please check that out and link through. Again, not a completely finished website, but it's functional and it's working. So if you have anything else in terms of resources, are we missing links to brands, to coaches, to other resources, let us know. Regional reps, we just asked. Committees, we're kind of forming as needed. We're all super busy working on a lot of things, but I know Mike Wang, you talked to Harrison, and you guys are going to get a committee going on DEI. Is that the right name for it? Diversity, inclusion, and DIE.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Yeah, so that's fantastic. If you have a passion within stand-up paddling, or you want to work with us on these things we're trying to put together, it's amazing all that has to go into this kind of thing, like the branding and the other things that we're trying to do are exciting, but time consuming. So appreciate your help in any way.
I'll call attention to the chat. There was a question about electing a different region, depending on where you tend to race. That's an option within the scoring system that we'll have to figure out, but that is an option.
Okay. I'll have to read that. I'm not sure I get that. So do you guys have questions or clarifications that you need? Again, we're trying to include every racer and every race. It's a huge challenge. We have to just find them to start with. We have a great group from all over different geographies here, which is fantastic. Help us in any way you can to find those. Appreciate any input. This is phase 1. There's plenty to do. We're excited about it, but one thing about membership is we can't offer a ton because we don't have a lot. So we're not going to send you a package with, you know, a race jersey and a hat and everything. We will have a special founding member sticker for you. And I think Ryan, he's quite the event producer, is bringing some stuff to Carolina Cup. So you might get some more things that say USA SEP. But we would love, again, it was explained kind of what we'd like. We want to have safe races. We want these things, but we decided not to set up all these rules about what you had to do from the beginning. But instead, this group right here, we're hoping will help us build some of these pieces so that by next year we can have maybe agreed upon structure and guidelines to what makes a good event, again, for the enjoyment and safety and growth of the sport. We are hoping to have both forums that are specifically for different groups like race directors where you can bounce things off. We'd like to have open meetings with our membership being on the main call like this is, but also have other people involved to grow, again, the membership where we talk about maybe really specific things each month, you know, about board classes, about age groups and things like that, and what you're doing in your area and what you think is fair and how we grow that, and et cetera, et cetera. It's interesting, even the terminology for stand-up paddling is not the same around the world. And it's time to start bringing that all together.
Quick question. So if we're looking for regional reps, can we have a page where it defines who, you know, what a regional rep is, and then we can share that web page on Facebook or whatever? It'd be a lot easier.
Absolutely. And I do have, because Matt did a really nice, now where is it?
Really nice is an overstatement. I took a first draft, a job description, so to speak, but we are working on that. It maybe needs a little bit of tweaking still, but if nothing else, this is something that you can send to somebody, at least give them the gist of what would be asked. But Harrison actually put it pretty well in the chat there. Right now, we can't know all of the events that are happening in the country at all times, right? Like we can go search Paddle Guru, Race Hub, Web Score, or whatever, but there's some things that are on those and some that are not, and we're going to miss stuff. So really, we want our regional reps to be just someone who is in touch with what's happening in the region and can help us not only get events on the website, but get people signed up so we can have more people in our regional ranking system, and then a bigger database. It's easier for people to connect with one another, and all that stuff will have a cascading effect to good, fun things, we hope. But we are working on a real job description for that soon too.
But Adrian's had his hand up for a long time.
Well, I will ask my question then. Thank you, Harrison, President Withers. So I wasn't sure if this is I've been mulling this question in my mind because Amanda and I are both part of the Waterman series. We have races as part of the Waterman series, which goes across Ohio, Kentucky, and West Virginia. And when I look at the regions that we have in USA SUP, that's 3 different regions. So I'm just in my mind, I'm thinking, how do the points work, and how do we think about that? And I think I know the answer because I think I figured it out in my mind, but I'd like to hear your perspective.
Harrison, do you want to maybe take this one, since the Midwest kind of got split as well? You're in a similar boat.
Well, but we're not, right? Because Midwest region is larger than the series that the Midwest Paddle League offers. So it is a little bit of a different situation, with Waterman. I think the way it is right now is I mean, the Waterman, you know, has their own champions, you know, their own series and, you know, their own points. But yeah, those races in those different regions would count towards different regional rankings. However, with that said, you know, at some point we got to nail this calendar and call it done, right? Because we've now officially been talking about it for about 3 months. And, you know, and we've got to try something, but you know, I didn't realize that we had split Waterman specifically like that. And that might be something that we want to revisit.
Well, I think it still works. I think the points just go to those, the USA sub-regions, and anything the Waterman series does is, in terms of who wins that series, is independent.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, like as it works now, right? If you win the Waterman series, great, nothing's stopping you from doing that. And if you happen to cross region lines, so to speak, West Side Story style almost.
Would it be more associated with like what state the individual racer lives in rather than what regional title that you're winning?
Exactly. And if you happen to do,
you know,
say that again.
So that makes more sense than if we're going on my, like the individual racer, what state they live in as they're registered to, I guess, for their region. Even if you're racing across multiple regions.
And I'll give you one specific one, which I just need to declare is in Ohio, is the Ohio River Paddle Fest races. One of the races starts in Ohio and finishes in Kentucky. So we just need to declare that's an Ohio race, I think.
Yeah, no, we definitely didn't know, or I didn't know that anyways. But yeah, I think maybe I'll write that in. Wherever a race starts is where it finishes in as for scoring.
Sure,
Yeah, I know Chattajack changes time zones. Luckily, it doesn't change regions, but yeah, things could get funny.
Right.
Yeah. And we appreciate you bringing these up and apologize for them as they come up. But we had spent so much time redoing that map. It was time to say, we need to make a decision.
Absolutely. I think there's a common sense answer to all these questions, and it's not that complicated.
Yeah.
It's just interesting.
I think it's really important. Go ahead.
Sorry, the other thing to remember is that within the ranking system, you can accumulate scores from out of your region as well and have them count as well as in-region scores. So if you have races that are just across the border, but we've split the regions on that border, you can still count those other ones up to a maximum number within your ranking anyway. So.
Doug will win the Be in the Most Regions award, right, Doug? Yeah. Who races in the most regions? He's going to have his own little competition. I also wanted to emphasize that we want to promote everything you're doing, the series and the winners of those and your individual races. So help us promote you. Tag us when you can. We will, repost on social media. It just helps connect it all. So again, connecting is one of the big goals.
I'm sorry I came so late to this. I was on the water, I'll confess, but I'm not seeing the map. Did that get sent out or? Because I'm assuming
it's top secret. You had to show up on time to see it.
I'm sorry.
All right, I will find it again.
Yeah, I didn't know if you sent it out and.
No.
Okay.
But go ahead and talk, because I was also trying, what was the other thing? Somebody else, we wanted the job description. I have to find in Slack.
Linda, did you want to ask your question while we're figuring things out there?
Yeah, I have two questions. In order for a race to count, does the race director have to kind of declare it's in the series?
We just have to find it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was gonna, we just have to know it exists. Yeah. You were not asking about like the points race, right? You just want event specific, right?
No, yeah, to be included in the points.
But we will have to get enough information, but we don't think that's fair to racers for somebody. We're hoping, we can't see why somebody would opt out. We're hoping, even if they're counted in different ways. We've tried to really nicely approach some of the groups like an APP or something that you know, we're going to count that too, even though they have their own thing, just like the regions, like you guys who have series.
Yeah, because, you know, I go to a race in Missoula that I don't even know if it's on anybody's radar. So.
Good. We need to know about that. Yay, regional.
And how do we get it on your radar? Is there
Grant had explained this form that we're almost have ready. For now, I have just inputting when and where I can find them, which I have to tell you, I start if my area has almost all of them on Paddle Guru. We're trying to get all those inputted. But eventually it would be huge help if you guys would input your own race. Plus it's better because you have the details of it. Right now we are just putting the general, you know, where it is and the day it's on, but not details about the race or the link back for registration. You can, we could add that. We can start adding that in though, if your race is still coming up. If you want more information, that would be great.
Yeah.
Put it in.
And this is kind of a stupid question, but no question is stupid. I'm assuming that in the rankings, there's men's and women's. Yes. Because it doesn't say that anywhere on those rankings, but I'm just
You're right. We did not write that. Probably should, but yeah, that will exist.
Yeah. And, you know, the rules are going to be a work in progress because you don't know the problems that you don't know yet. So, but good job. They're awesome so far.
Thanks, Linda. Okay, were there other questions on the side? I know some people are writing them. Okay.
Ooh, Chris, for social.
Oh,
good question. Don't know.
Well, USA Sup 6 letters is a good start, right? But
we do have an Instagram, yeah.
Yep,
we do.
Which is we're USA Sup Racing.
USA Sup Racing.
At USA Sup Racing. There's not much there, but it exists. So please help us tag us in pictures so we can start building some things there.
Mm-hmm. A few of you have, which is very cool.
Pretty exciting. We do have a couple students helping us with some of our graphic design work. One of our big holes as an organization is none of us are great at the web. So if somebody's looking for a unpaid job as a webmaster, we're interested in you know, hearing that as well. That will help us accelerate getting that website where we need it to be. But as it is now, we're just kind of struggling through it as best we're able. Elizabeth, question.
Yes, hey, this might be for you, Harrison. At my events, you know, at the race meeting, I always talk about upcoming things. Would you be able to put together a little blurb about what I can say at the first Midwest Paddle League race about memberships and this regional rep that you're looking for? You're looking for multiple regional reps, correct? Not just
I think that helps spread the load. But yes, I can absolutely write you up a blurb. And I have a sneaking suspicion, Elizabeth, I will in fact be at that race.
Yay! Awesome. Okay, great. That answers my question. Thanks.
Anybody got anything else?
Will all of this be kind of summarized in notes for people like me who were late to the meeting? So
we have a recording, actually.
Oh, good. That's right. It is recorded. Perfect.
Kristen, did you ever get a hold of that map? Yeah. Or oh, perfect. Kristen, you're also on mute there.
I didn't find your nice short description of regional rep, but we'll send that out. Yeah, last time we sent out, I think, a link to the logo. Yeah, link to the recording.
I just had a quick observation. Larry and I were chatting on the side, and we both were thinking that New York and New Jersey should be in the same region. just thought.
Apologies, my map tool that is free to make this doesn't allow you to cut states in half. We were thinking New Jersey would be, what was the name of the turnpike? There's some road.
Yeah, the New Jersey Turnpike.
New Jersey Turnpike.
back in before the revolution, there was a North Jersey and a South Jersey.
Well, we're thinking that needs to be cut. Wasn't there one other state that we're still discussing too? Oh, South Carolina is one of those, kind of to what Adrian brought up, that some things are in the Southern Stoke series and some affiliate more with the Mid-Atlantic. But New Jersey was the one that is cut in the middle. So that's good point.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense then for you guys, Lawrence? Sort of, not? Or do you think New Jersey?
It's okay. I just, I recruited the Atlantic City sub-series already in there. So that's a little south, but we can cut it that way.
Yeah. And I think Atlantic City is kind of, you know, one of those directly in the middle of those two regions, because we have a lot of people that go to that race as well. But yeah, so that's, I guess that's okay.
Yeah, we can always split all the races either way.
Well, should New Jersey be south? I'm in Mid-Atlantic. You think it's better? Excuse me, north in North Atlantic.
No, we can keep it in the Northeast, because now that Jace is on, the hope is that we'll split New England and Northeast at some point as two separate regions once we get going.
Well, we're not sure what we're going to call them. There are definitely sub-regions. I live in the Orange over there, and there's a NorCal Neva that already sort of affiliates, and sort of a Southern California with Arizona group. So we definitely will have, and I think the regional reps might sort of reflect that. Like you were saying, Lawrence, like Maine is pretty far from where you are, and you're not necessarily up on what's going on there. So maybe we can get somebody who's pretty far up in Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine to also be a regional rep.
Right, that's where Jace can come in, because he's up in Massachusetts.
Right, I'd say that's maybe something we didn't specifically say, but when we're trying to get multiple regional reps, the more spread out y'all can be, the better. You know, it's great if we have two really psyched people in New York. I know it's a big place, but yeah, the more we can spread people out, the more events we're going to be able to put into our system, and the results that we can track, and easier we can make it for people to connect throughout the country and hopefully grow the sport a little bit more too.
Catherine, do you have another question, or is your hand just still up?
Yeah, I'm going to be a pain. So last time we kind of talked about this central states area, because we're in Kansas. I'm in South Central Kansas. And really the water activity is kind of in our area, Missouri, Kansas, and now Oklahoma, as I'm sure you've all seen, they're hosting that huge ICF. So those, I don't know if it's pertaining to the activity. I mean, are you trying to group them based on activity and action and reachability? Because I don't have much connection other than knowing Harris, and I just don't, we don't go up and paddle in the Great Lakes much here.
Well, yeah, you know, and the Midwest, you know, paddle league, we're not necessarily, you know, going to go outside of Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, you know, Michigan. But we have had races before in Minnesota and Iowa, but I am unaware of even a race existing in North Dakota, South Dakota, or Nebraska.
Yeah, I don't know of any either. And we've paddled as far as Iowa, and of course we go down to Oklahoma and paddle, in Missouri a lot, but and there's a lot down in the Ozarks kind of building up. And I'm starting to make some connections with some people there to try and host some races. So I just didn't know if it made sense for us to be connected with that region up there. I'd be happy to take on whatever you want done down in my area, but I don't know much about.
Well, there are certain areas we don't know that much about either. And we felt we needed to make fewer regions, so they're huge. And we don't expect that most people will travel all over their entire region. Again, there's sort of sub-regions within
sub-regions.
But yeah, for this year could only take on so much. Are you feeling like, what did you say, Missouri and Kansas belong where? In the South? Like
We tend to go more south than north, let's put it that way. I mean, I don't know if that would be connected to, I would feel like Kansas, Missouri would be connected to Oklahoma and Arkansas more, and Louisiana, but I always say I'm geographically challenged, but
well, it is, you're right in the middle, so it is a challenging area, that's for sure.
It is.
The dark blue area, Wyoming, Utah, Colorado don't necessarily paddle in Texas and Oklahoma, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I would guess
I have
not
a
either.
Question about all this. Because the way that it looks like you guys are setting up the points, which looks good, there's not a lot of differences. I mean, a big race and a small race, you're fine tuning the points. Why, to some degree, what's the point of the regions? I mean, you could make this a national thing anyway, because there's a lot of people that don't go outside of any place else. So you'd be having a national ranking all the time. You could possibly do that and eliminate a lot of the things that you're running into. Because each individual, like the Midwest Paddle League, is going to have their own Midwest Paddle League. It's independent of this anyway. You can become a Midwest Paddle League champion, and you would still be a national ranked person based on your races that you've done, wherever they're at.
I think.
And I hear you, and I don't think that that's, necessarily, a bad idea. I think what we're hoping by creating these regions is that some of these regions start to create a regional identity, because not all of these regions have, a Midwest Paddle League or, a cohesive series. And, by having the regions, I think it's our hope that they'll start to develop an identity. That might not work out, but, at the end of the day, you're right. I mean, there's not a huge difference in the national rankings, whether or not, where these, regions necessarily lie, other than the fact of, we'd like to see some communities pop up.
Right. But I mean, yeah, I think it can work both ways. And I think if it's a national organization, it might be better to, the regions are complicated. I know, because we worked on it before. I know that. Yeah. And there's so many differences, like in the Southeast, I forget what the map says, but I'd be more likely to go up in the Northeast than to race other races that are in my region, just because, but I think if you're building something national, you may not need, it's better to build, I think, like you're saying, build a Midwest Paddle League unto itself. And then, but this is the national body that oversees everything. And my points are ranked against somebody in California, that's fine. And the more guidelines, I think, that come about with distances, so it's a fair, so I'm, let's just hypothetically say a 5K racer, I'm a 5K racer, my points that I'm doing in the 5K are going to be comparable to a 5K racer in Texas, California, New York, New Jersey. It doesn't matter, but it's a national thing.
We do hope to build to that in terms of distances, but as we explained in the beginning, we're not doing that this year, just each of you choosing a race. But right. I will defend regions in that I think more people are acknowledged. I think it encourages people to go to different races in their regions, kind of to see where they are against people that they race against, maybe, again, or more likely to control.
Yeah, I think
control too, right? With having regional representatives and management.
Yep, Jeff, you're really unclear. Can you get closer to your mic?
Sorry, hang on. I'm gonna have to disconnect my headsets.
That's a little better with your face closer to the thing.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Much better.
Yes, much better.
Okay.
I was just saying, I think with regions, it helps your span of control. So logistically, even though we are national and we're small right now, having those regional representatives in each of the regions will help, manage all the races and manage all the scoring and everything else. If you're trying to do that nationally as you grow, it's just going to become difficult. So I think regions are important. You see it in all sports and all other, corporations and everything else. So I think it's important to start it now. Just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I think the one thing I'll add to that is just my background is in competitive climbing. I've worked in and with USA Climbing for the last dozen or so years. And so what they've got set up on your way to nationals, again, this is, we're in the works of creating a national event. And at some point we want to try to create a filtration system for people to be able to get to that event and to have that be a meaningful experience. Not that it won't be the first time around, but we look to build that. So what climbing has in place is that there are regions, and then 2 regions put together make a division, and then the top X number of people from each division qualify to compete at the national event. This is, again, very aspirational. Maybe one day we're an Olympic sport. One day we're helping to field international teams for other international events, whether it be ICF, ISA, or something else. But that idea of hoping to set our base and set ourselves up well for success to do something like that, combined with the bottom-up approach that Harrison spoke to at the very beginning, I think is kind of why we're starting where we're at. I think, Danny, like what you're talking about wouldn't be a bad thing. It could exist for sure, but I think this is just the direction we chose because of the values we set out to start with.
I think there's no problem with it. I grew up surfing competitively, so I knew that we have local, then we have state, then we have national, and whether it's ESA, NSSA, or whatever. So I understand that completely, but there we're dealing with volume, and I think now we're on the other side of that. Both ways can work. I think there seems to be a lot of complications. I mean, just based on what I saw here of the whole regional things, and if you look at like something like the APP or the World Surf League or whatever it was, or WPA stuff, it was more on a global scale because it's an easier task to get the ball rolling with.
Yeah, I think like you said, we could go either way, I guess. Maybe hit me up. You and I should talk more about this. I would love to be able to get more nitty gritty with it.
I understand the concept of it being more manageable, and I agree with that. I just don't know for us, like it would complicate matters if they have the Midwest Paddle League and that involves states up there, but they're not overlapping in the regions for the USA SUP. Is that going to be a problem if my league or the league that we have down here overlaps in different regions? Is that an issue if I'm trying to promote races and then they're going to be in different regions? I don't know if that makes sense or if that is even a valid question.
So sorry, go ahead, Harrison.
I don't think that creates, conflict. In fact, I mean, Waterman and Midwest have overlap and have had overlap for years.
We're at 2 this year. I mean, but it shouldn't be an issue.
I mean, at the bottom line, I mean, the goal has to be to get people to go to races, more people to be, into paddleboarding, and to go to events, not even necessarily races, because we don't actually, really need them to race. We need them to come and, be part of us and, feel like they have a place where they can go and belong. This isn't going to be without problems. And, next year, we might make some different decisions. But at some point, we've just got to, push forward. And, I, for one, am, looking forward to, the first real inclusive national ranking system that we've ever had in this sport, which is, I think, a giant step forward. Andrew, I'm so sorry. Your hand has been up for quite a while.
Hey, I'm not sure how to get the camera going. It's on my phone, but I wanted to talk about, I think there's value in the regional areas, but I come from a sprint kayaking background where it kind of organized itself over the last 40 years, and how my identity isn't in the region, it's the team and group of people I paddle with. So I think it's important to incorporate something about your team or group of paddlers that you paddle with into this system here. Because for years, we've done something called the Olympic Development Program, which kind of mapped out each competitive athlete that would be going to trials for the national team. And this would be in the winter and the off season. And it would consist of all the good athletes, and you are ranked based on that system besides the actual national trials and the nationals event. So I think that's something good to think about.
I love the idea of teams and clubs and, having a competitive structure for, teams and clubs. I don't know that necessarily really exists many places in the US right now, that sense of club or team.
It doesn't have to be like a team or club, because usually when you're paddling, you got a couple of group of paddlers that you go with. It's more if you can just have your own group of paddlers to call themselves. I think that's going to call into more of the identity and work a little bit better. That's just my opinion though on that.
Andrew, in your head, are you seeing this like as it stands now, right? Because Harrison mentioned like there are so few. I'm decently familiar with the sprint canoe and kayak world. There's just, everywhere you go, there's a boathouse or a team that you can be a part of. And that's obviously super different. So as it stands now, would you see this being a way that we like attribute scores to certain teams, or you're getting like, what do you envision this being as it stands now, I guess?
Yeah. So the use of teams, I think, is going to develop more of for people to make their own programs and develop their own like boat houses. So I think it'd be good to kind of encourage that. So that's going to be the big ticket to get the kids involved into paddling, because most people aren't going to get involved in paddling unless a program teaches you. Like that should be the goal and the primary target, to get this.
I think that'll be part of the evolution of the sport, and I think that'll keep happening naturally. But keep in mind, this is going to continue to evolve.
I think if we take Andrew's idea there about this aspirational view of identifying talent within the pool of paddlers and growing them up through developmental programs so they're ready for national, international competition. If we look back, Dan, at your suggestion of just a national ranking, how would we find those hidden gems if we didn't have a regional and local ranking? I mean, if the only people that got a national ranking were the people who could afford to travel to different events, how do you recognize the hidden gems?
But you don't change anything that you're doing as far as getting your regional reps out there to find all the races, all the racers, and all the races. Then what happens is you score that person, but he's scored on a national level. He's not pigeonholed into the Southeast or the Midwest or any place else. If I get 50 points this weekend, that's my national ranking. If you get 50 points, that's your national ranking. It doesn't matter if you're racing in California, or it doesn't matter where you're racing. It's all a national point system. And we still want to find every single race and every single racer. There's no change there.
Right.
I have something to add to that real quick. Not to add, but question. I think I like the regional aspect.
Someone out there mute. We're getting a lot of feedback. Mute. We're getting a lot of.
Okay. Oh, much better. Okay. What I was going to say is I think the regional aspect is good because what I've found people saying a lot in these smaller places is that, not saying that you should paddle because you want to compete at whatever level, but it's nice to have that aspiration to compete at a higher level. And unless a lot of times you're in California, you don't get that opportunity. So if you took the nation on a whole and scored them on a national level against, like if we in Florida, or if some, you know, when I was looking at some of these states in the US where it's like, who knows if they have races or not, they're not going to have a chance like on a national level right off the bat, right? So the regional aspect gives them that motivation to like try to get better within the region to qualify for even a higher thing to go against people they might not have the chance on a national level, if that's what I'm getting from this whole thing. So I think it's good from like a motivational standpoint for like the beginner paddlers or intermediate paddlers to try to work themselves up to like gain some, you know, growth within themselves, basically. That's just what I think.
Real quick, I want to say too about Andrew's thing and kind of everything as far as regions go. All of this looks really similar to USA Rugby and the way they're set up. So I don't know if anybody's seen their website, but essentially you can find any club in any region. You can go up the divisions and eventually go to nationals. And it actually has a full track all the way to the Olympics. So this looks really good as far as working in the New England area. It seems like this is going to be, people are going to want regions for sure. They're going to want to be like, hey, I'm from the Northeast, and especially out here, and you know, we're working up the tracks. So so far I like everything that you know, it looks like this year is going to be a data collection year, and like you all said, moving kind of slowly into next year into a championship. But so far I'm loving it.
Thank you. Yeah, we really appreciate it, man. I've checked out rugby a little bit. I'm not super familiar with it, but through the process that Fiona and I were brainstorming, coming up with different scoring systems, the one we actually ended up stealing is from a sailing format. But we've looked at a whole bunch of different sports and different ways to do this. And this is kind of what seems like a lot of different sports and activities have kind of boiled down to. This is just like a easy way to get people involved, especially like participation type events like triathlon too, where like there's really not, you don't turn on ESPN to watch triathlon, right? Like it's a passion sport. And so we tried to model it a little bit on other sports that have similar demographics and value systems to what we have as well. So psyched that you're psyched. Anybody got anything else for us while you got us?
Thank you all. I didn't know if Harrison was gonna wrap it up. It's frozen down there.
This is really exciting, by the way. I mean, I'm extremely happy to see the progress and to be part of this. And so thank you all for your leadership.
Yeah, sorry it took me a minute to unmute myself. When you're on a competing product all day long, every day, switching to Zoom is unfamiliar territory. You know, as much as we're trying to get something done, none of this gets done without the people who go to races and the people who put on races. So, you know, this isn't an us and you or an us and them. This is, you know, everyone together, and this will only be as successful as we make it. And hopefully we learn the lessons from all the efforts that came before this one that didn't work out. And we can come up with something sustainable over time that can grow with our support and with our sport and help us achieve something that we haven't yet. So thank you everyone for your time today, and we'll be in touch and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
It's awesome.
Thank you. Everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna capture the notes. Save chat.
Hey, Kristen. I don't know if I got a copy of the audio last time, so I'm wondering, did it get?
They're too big to send out. I sent those who participated got a link to it, didn't they?
Via email?
It's really hard. My computer's like full and I have a really hard time keeping these things. So I have to put them in Google and erase things as I do.
Yeah. Okay. And did that link get sent out via email?
Yeah, only to the participants from last time.
Yeah,
you were there last time. Yeah.
I was.
I thought it was in that email, but I don't know. We do scattered things, but
okay,
I'll try to make sure there's a link to it. Yeah, it's too big to send.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. I'll take a look, see if I can find it. And if I can, I'll just reach out and let you know. So
thank you. Thanks,
Kristen. Appreciate it.
Yeah, take care, guys. Thanks, Matt. Good job explaining all that complicated stuff. How's the storm going? It didn't shut off your electricity. That's good.
No, I'm still here. The window was shaking a little bit while I was on mute, but we're still here.
Still there. Yay. Cool. So we'll have to talk. I meant to ask about Carolina Cup to see if people were going to be there, but I think we'll have some like we did last time. Angela is. Yay. Cool. All right. Take care, you guys. Have a good evening.
See ya.
Bye. Oh, it's just us. Yay. Okay. I think that went generally well. We had a lot of people, 2 more regional reps, which is cool. Yeah. What do you think about, I mean, we can still tweak regions. Should New Jersey be north? Or, I mean, it's really hard to cut the state.
Yeah. You know, I'm tempted to defer to people who paddle there, right? Like the Kansas thing is a really good point, right? Like if Oklahoma throws a lot of events and they want to go there.
But she hasn't started events yet, but she feels south. So, but then she said, I don't know, like.
Well, so she's, sorry, my phone is, Mary is texting me more stuff. She's Kansas and then Oklahoma is in the south central region, right? So she thinks she's going to go to
Missouri too. Yeah, but just
right. So she thinks they're going to go more to the south than they will to the Midwest.
Yeah,
paddle league
Missouri,
events.
That makes it really weird because Missouri's sitting over here blue.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. I could go either way. And then Jersey, maybe I'll text Mary and maybe we get like a Jersey focus group real quick to take a vote.
Yeah. Do you want to go?
I'll see. Yeah, I'll see who I can get.
Easier to take the whole state just because we don't have other.
It would be a hell of a lot easier to just kick it up or down and not split it, right?
Yeah, it would.
I agree. I'll see if I can get some people.
Thank you for checking that. And so we still can tweak those, but at least we have the names, the colors, the numbers, but we could still move some states around.
Oh, we're still recording actually, if you'd like to stop that.
Oh, where's the damn record? Thank you.